Blue Jays Nation, take a deep breath with me, because what we have today hits right at the heart of every Toronto fan. The first piece of news strikes like lightning in the middle of the offseason. Bichette has rejected the qualifying offer. The same Bo who carried the team in the postseason, who returned from injury for the World Series and almost pushed us to the top, is now testing the market. And that leaves every fan torn between hope and fear. And before we can even process that impact, another shock rises on the horizon. The very real possibility of Mike Trout landing on the Jays' radar. Yes, Trout, the three-time MVP who could redefine the franchise's future, depending on what happens with Bichette and the pursuit of Kyle Tucker. It's one of those moments when the Blue faithful feel the ground shake, because everything is on the line. The present, the future, the very identity of the team. So hit that like button, Blue Jays Nation, because when an off-season starts like this, we know turbulence is coming. News 1. All right then, Blue Jays Nation, hold tight, because the first story is one of those that weighs on the chest of anyone who lives and breathes this team. The state of the team. Toronto still feels the echo of that World Series that slipped away by a single inning, a detail, a breath that seemed ready to bring the trophy home after decades of waiting. And in the middle of that context, Bichette stands as a symbol of everything that went right, and everything that can still go wrong. He returned from injury, hit hard, carried the lineup when it needed him the most. He was the face of hope on those October nights. And then, just when fans thought they could exhale, the decision came. Bo rejected the qualifying offer. And that no one expected. When the news broke, the impact was instant. The rejection means Bichette will test the market here offers and feel the weight of other franchises that want his talent. And the value of the qualifying offer, more than $22 million, shows just how important he is in today's MLB. The rejection doesn't guarantee he'll leave, but it puts Toronto into a race they weren't planning for. What does this mean for the Jays offense? For the infield? For the locker room's confidence? For the fan base that just watched him shine on the sport's biggest stage? It's the kind of move that triggers alarms, hope, and fear all at once. And the question that remains is unavoidable. Can Toronto hold on to its most important offensive player at the most critical moment of the modern era of the team? Behind the scenes, or really in the reactions any fan feels in their gut, there's a mix of frustration and understanding. Bichette had a strong season, finished October on fire, and proved he's still a pillar. But on the other hand, Toronto has lived this story before. Elite talent entering the offseason, tense negotiations, uncertainty. The Blue faithful look at the front office and think, we were so close. How can you risk losing a piece like this now? It's a familiar feeling, a deja vu of cycles that leave the fan base drained. And when we place all of this into the bigger context of the season, everything gets even heavier. Toronto knocked on the door of a championship. It was a team that showed grit, depth, and soul, but it also showed weaknesses. Losing Bichette, or even just risking it, exposes a painful contrast. The window is open, but it could close fast. It feels like the same kind of turbulence Toronto has faced in other rebuilds, only now with maximum pressure. And in the middle of all that, Blue Jays Nation holds one question tight in its chest, the one that defines this moment. How do you rebuild a near title run when one of your pillars decides to test the market? News 2. So let's dive into the second story, Blue Jays Nation. And this one goes straight to the imagination of any fan who understands the weight of a superstar on a team that came so close to the title. The state of the team. Toronto ended the season on the edge of glory. A Game 7 that hurt because it showed how ready this roster was, but also revealed how much they still lacked that final piece. The one that changes a franchise's history. The front office knows it. The fans feel it in their bones. And it's in this scenario that a name appears, one that makes any stadium shake. Mike Trout. Three-time MVP, one of the rarest talents of his generation, a name that, just by being mentioned alongside the Jays, makes the entire city hold its breath. And the possibility, no one expected it. The central point hits almost like a shock. Christopher Klein of Fansided suggested that Trout could be exactly the player capable of lifting Toronto to the top, especially if Bichette leaves. The argument is straightforward. Trout would be an immediate upgrade over Addison Barger in right field and would fill the offensive gap Bo would leave behind. On top of that, the Jays have the financial power and the ambition to jump into this battle if the Angels give their blessing for a trade. Trout still has significant control over his destination, and the fact that Toronto is the reigning American League champion makes the team one of the most attractive landing spots. The question that remains is, should Toronto really go that deep in pursuit of a superstar of this magnitude, even with his recent injury history? Behind the scenes, or better yet, in the natural reaction of anyone who lives this team, there's that mix of dreaming and caution. Trout is Trout. The emotional and on-field impact would be immediate. But at the same time, fans know the front office has its eyes locked on Kyle Tucker, the #1 target of the offseason. And that's where the dilemma is born. If Tucker signs, Trout no longer makes sense. If Tucker doesn't come, Trout becomes that hidden card, that move that could reignite all the confidence of the roster and the fan base. Blue Jays Nation has seen opportunities like this appear and vanish before, so the excitement comes tied to that familiar sting of doubt. And when we place this possibility into the context of what Toronto is living right now, the contrast is enormous. Trout is the kind of name that symbolizes an all-in move, the kind of gamble great teams make when they are ready to take the final step. And Toronto is right there, literally there, one play away, one swing, one arm, one star. It feels like one of those era-defining moments. Going after Trout means accepting that the window is now, not in 2 years. The fans feel that weight. They feel that calling. It surprises, excites, and scares at the same time, like everything involving a superstar of his size. In the end, one question echoes in the heart of Blue Jays Nation. Will Toronto finally act like a giant and go after the piece that can decide a championship? So let's close this out together, Blue Jays Nation. Because after these two stories, it's clear we're living through one of the most defining off-seasons in recent Toronto history. On one side, the future of Bo Bichette, the heart of the lineup, the guy who shined when the season was hanging by a thread. Rejecting the qualifying offer isn't just a business move. It's a reminder that nothing is guaranteed, not even after coming so close to touching the trophy. And that hits the fan base hard, because Bo represents exactly what this team searched for all year. Consistency, explosiveness, and that spark that decides big games. On the other side, the name that ignites any conversation about the final piece, Mike Trout. Just the possibility of seeing him in blue shows how bold Toronto needs to be right now. Because we reached the edge. We reached a point where just a little is missing. But that little costs a lot. It costs the title in October. And it could cost the future if the front office isn't aggressive. Putting these stories together gives us the perfect portrait of a Jays fan soul. Hope that refuses to die. Frustration that returns. Dreams that rebuild themselves even when the heart is bruised. Being a Blue Jay is exactly that. It's believing when no one else believes. It's standing up when everything seems certain and falls apart at the end. It's wanting more, always more, because we know this team has the talent to get there. And that's why we keep going. Because this jersey carries history. And this fan base never quits. Now drop your thoughts in the comments, Blue Jays Nation, and hit the like button so this content reaches even more Jays fans out there.